The phone slipped in her hands before she even understood what she was looking at. Then she understood. And the floor of her tiny bedroom seemed to tilt sideways, like the whole world had quietly decided to drop her. There they were. Photos of her body. Not posed, not chosen. Not the careful angles she allowed the mirror to keep. The soft, rounded curve of her belly. The stretch marks she had never, not once in 28 years, shown a single living person. Public. Sitting on a screen for the entire city to scroll past with their coffee. Her name was in the caption. Spelled correctly. Whoever did this wanted everyone to know exactly whose skin they were laughing at. The comments moved faster than she could breathe. People she had never met deciding, in real time, that a body like hers was a joke that belonged to all of them now. She did not cry. That was the strange part. She just sat there, very still, while something old and familiar climbed up her throat and whispered the thing it had always whispered. See, you were never enough. You were only ever this. She had spent her whole life learning how to take up less room, bigger clothes, quieter laughs, a habit of standing at the back of every photo, half hidden behind whoever stood in front. And it had still come to this, exposed in the one way she swore would never happen. Her phone buzzed against the blanket. A message, then another, then a flood of them, all from numbers she half recognized, all asking the same thing dressed up in fake concern. Is that really you? Are you okay?
Did you see what people are saying?
She turned the phone face down again. Her hands would not stop shaking. There was only one person she wanted to call. The only person who had ever seen her without the armor, who had been in the room the day she cried about her body at 16 and had held her and said never let them make you small. Tasha, her best friend since they were 9 years old. She pressed the call. It rang once. Then it went dead, sent straight to silence. She tried again. Straight to silence again. As if she had been blocked. Why would Tasha block her? Tonight of all nights. The one night the whole world had turned on her. Unless. The thought arrived quietly, the way the worst thoughts always do, and then it would not leave. Those photos. The ones of her belly, her thighs. The marks she had only ever shown in the dark. She tried to remember the last time anyone had seen them. The last time she had let her guard down that completely. And there was only one answer. Only one person it could possibly be. 3 weeks ago. Tasha had been over. They had been laughing about something stupid. Tasha had asked, so casually it had meant nothing, to take a few photos for a body positivity post Naya was thinking about making. You should be proud, she had said. You're beautiful, and people need to see real women. And Naya, for once in her life, had believed her, had let her take the pictures, had trusted the one face she had never doubted. Her stomach turned to ice. It was Tasha. It had always been Tasha. The only hand that had ever held her up was the hand that had just thrown her to the wolves. She did not know yet that those photos had already traveled far beyond the people laughing at them. She did not know that somewhere across the city, in a room of glass and gold 40 floors above the street, that very post had just landed in front of a man the entire underworld was terrified of. She did not know that he had stopped, that he had not laughed, that he was, at that exact moment, staring at her image like a man who had just been shown something holy. Kim Cho did not feel things. That was the first rule everyone learned about him, usually right before they learned the second one, which was that crossing him was the last decision they ever made freely. He had been handed the phone by one of his men, almost as a joke, the kind of cruelty that passed for entertainment among people who had stopped seeing others as human. Look at this. The whole city is laughing. But Kim was not laughing. He had gone very still. He was not seeing what they were seeing. They saw a body to mock. He saw something else entirely. He saw a woman whose softness had been dragged into the light against her will, and who, in the one photo where her face was turned toward the camera, was not cowering. There was a fire behind her eyes that the humiliation had not managed to put out. A woman fully, gloriously herself, and the world too small and too cruel to deserve the sight of her. Something in his chest, a thing he had assumed died years ago, turned over. Min Park had worked at his side for 9 years. He had seen Kim order terrible things over breakfast without his pulse changing. He had never, not once, seen the man look at a screen the way he was looking now. Find out who she is, Kim said. His voice was quiet. That was the dangerous register, the one that came before something irreversible. Her name, where she works, who took these. And who put them up? Min hesitated, just slightly.
Boss.
It's a nobody. Some woman the internet is bored with by morning. Kim turned his head. Just that. And Min went silent. She is not a nobody, Kim said. And whoever did this to her is going to wish the city had never heard her name. He looked back at the glass, at his own faint reflection laid over the cold lights of a city that had just spent its evening laughing at a woman it would never be worthy of. He did not know her yet. He did not know her voice, her laugh, the sound she made when she was happy. But he knew, with a certainty that frightened even him, that he was going to. Naya did not sleep. By morning the post had been shared thousands of times. Her phone was a graveyard of notifications she could not bring herself to open. She had two choices: disappear, or get up, put on the armor, and go to work, because Rent did not care that the internet had decided she was a punchline. She got up. She always got up. That was the thing no one understood about her. They mistook her softness for weakness, and they were always wrong. The walk to the boutique was the longest of her life. Every glance felt like a hand reaching for her. Every laugh in the distance felt aimed. She kept her eyes on the wet pavement and counted her steps and told herself she only had to survive the next one. What she did not notice was the black car. Long, low, gleaming, idling across the street with its engine purring. She did not notice the tinted window slide down an inch. She did not notice the man inside watching her walk, the way you watch something you have already decided to never look away from again. By the time she reached the boutique, she had almost convinced herself she could get through the day. Almost. And before you see what happens when she opens that door, let me say one thing to you, because if you have made it this far with Naya, your heart is already in this. Stories like hers, the ones the world tries to laugh out of existence, they only keep getting told because people like you choose to stay. If something in your chest is aching for her right now, tap that subscribe button. Not because I am demanding it, but because it tells this small channel that bringing you these dangerous, forbidden love stories is reaching someone real. That is the only thing that keeps them coming.
Now.
Back to Naya, and the morning that is about to change her life. The boutique was quiet, which was a small mercy. Her manager gave her a long, awkward look, but said nothing. The morning crawled. Naya folded silk and straightened rails and let the routine hold her upright. Then the little bell above the door rang. She turned with the practiced smile she gave every customer, and the smile died on her face. She had never seen him before, and yet she knew, the way Prey knows, that this was not a man who belonged in a small boutique on a gray Tuesday. Everything about him was too precise. Too still. The kind of man who made the air in a room rearrange itself around him. He did not browse. He did not pretend. He walked straight to her counter, and he looked at her, and for one long, impossible second, he simply looked, like a man confirming something he had traveled a great distance to see. "Can I help you find something?" she managed. Her voice came out steadier than she felt. He did not answer right away. When he did, his words were not what she expected. "You are even more striking in person," he said. Quiet.
Certain.
Not a line. A fact, stated by a man who did not waste words on flattery. And every wall she had ever built slammed up at once. Because she knew exactly what this was. He had seen the photos. Of course he had. The whole city had. And now here he was, beautiful and dangerous and looking at her like that. And she had been laughed at enough times to know when she was the joke. "I don't know what you saw online," she said, her voice low and tight, "but I'm not a sideshow. So whatever this is, you can walk back out that door." Most men would have flinched. He did not. Something flickered across his face that looked almost like approval, like she had just confirmed the very thing that had stopped him cold the night before. "I did not come because of what they posted," he said. "I came in spite of it. There is a difference, and I think you already know it."
She faltered.
Just for a heartbeat. Because no one had ever said that to her, not like that, not as if it were the most obvious thing in the world. But the voice was already there, the old one, climbing up her throat. "He's lying. Men like him don't want women like you. He wants to collect you, to use you and put you down when he's bored. You are not enough for this, and you know it." She believed the voice. She had spent 28 years believing the voice. It had never once been kind, but it had always felt true. "Please leave," she said. "I won't ask again." He did not argue. He simply reached into his coat, set a single black card on the counter between them, and stepped back. "The people who did this to you," he said, "will be handled. You do not have to do anything.
You do not even have to call me.
But that card stays, in case there comes a day you decide you are tired of carrying the whole weight alone." Then he turned and walked out, and the bell rang softly behind him, and Naya stood there staring at a black card she had absolutely no intention of ever using. She told herself she would throw it away. She did not throw it away. That was the part she would think about later, lying awake. She slid it into her pocket and pretended she had not. That night, the post was gone, deleted. Not just from the original account, but everywhere, scrubbed from every corner of the internet it had spread to, as if a hand far larger than she could imagine had reached across the city and simply erased it. And the account that posted it had vanished too. Naya should have felt relief. Instead, she felt the first cold prickle of something she could not name, because things like that did not just happen. Someone had made it happen, and she knew exactly whose card was burning a hole in her pocket. The next morning, there was a delivery at the boutique. No note, just a single white box, and inside it, the softest cashmere coat she had ever touched, in a deep warm bronze that would look extraordinary against her skin, in exactly her size. A size most shops pretended did not exist. He had not even left his name.
He did not need to.
And here is the thing that undid her, just a little, against her will. It was not the price of it. It was the size. He had paid attention. He had thought about her body not as a thing to fix or hide, but as a thing to dress beautifully. No one had ever done that. No one.
She did not wear it.
But she did not send it back either. She hung it in her closet and looked at it every morning like it was a question she was not ready to answer. Days passed. The gifts did not stop, but they changed. They got smaller and stranger and more precise. A first edition of the exact romance novel she had mentioned loving to a coworker once. Her favorite tea, the obscure kind only one shop in the city carried. Things that proved he was not buying her. He was learning her. And every single one came with no demand attached. No request for a meeting. No pressure. Just attention, patient and total, the likes of which she had never once received in her life. It terrified her more than any threat could have. She finally called the number. She told herself it was to make him stop. He answered on the first ring, as if he had been waiting.
Naya.
Just her name. The way he said it made something flutter low in her stomach, which only made her angrier.
You have to stop, she said. The gifts.
All of it. I don't know what game this is, but I'm not going to be anyone's project. I've been the thing people feel sorry for my whole life. I won't be that for you too. There was a silence on the line. Not an empty one. A heavy, considering one. Is that what you think this is? He said at last.
Pity.
What else would it be? She shot back and hated how her voice cracked.
Pity looks away, he said.
I have not been able to stop looking. There is a difference, and one day you will let yourself believe it. She hung up. Her heart was slamming. She pressed her back against the wall and slid down into the floor and sat there in the dark, furious and shaking and feeling, for the first time in longer than she could remember, dangerously close to hoping. Hope was the most dangerous thing in the world for a woman like her. Hope was the thing that let you down the hardest. A week later, he asked her to dinner. Not a demand. A question, the first real one.
And she said no.
And he accepted it without complaint, which somehow made her want to say yes. So he asked again. And again. Always patient. Always leaving the door open and never pushing her through it. Until one rain-heavy evening, exhausted from carrying the no, she found herself standing outside a restaurant she would never have walked into in her life, in the bronze cashmere coat she had sworn she would never wear. She almost turned around 3 times. She did not. She made herself walk in. And if you are still here with me, still walking into that restaurant right beside Naya with your heart in your throat, do one small thing for me. Drop the emoji that matches exactly how your heart feels right now. Tell me where in the world you are watching from and what time it is where you sit. And if you are watching this on your TV, reach over and tap that like button so I know you are in the room with us. Because what happens at that table is the moment everything she believes about herself starts to crack, and you're going to want to be here for it. He had taken a private room. Not to hide her, she realized, but to protect her from exactly the eyes she dreaded. He had thought of that too. He stood when she entered. actually stood and pulled out her chair and looked at her in the bronze coat like she had walked in wearing the night sky. "You wore it," he said softly. "Don't make it a thing," she said, sitting quickly. The corner of his mouth moved. Almost a smile. "It is already a thing." They talked. That was the thing she had not expected. Not about the photos, not about his world, not about the rumors that clung to his name like smoke. He asked her about the romance novel she loved and why. He asked what she had wanted to be at 9 years old. He listened like the answers mattered more than anything happening in the rest of the city. And somewhere between the candle burning low and the rain softening on the window, Naya forgot, for whole minutes at a time, to hate herself. He watched her laugh, and something in his face changed, gentled, opened in a way that no one in his world would have recognized. "There," he said quietly. That is what they tried to take from you. And they will never get near it again. Not while I am breathing." The laugh faded on her lips. Because he meant it. She could hear that he meant it, all the way down. And it frightened her more than any threat because it asked her to believe she was worth that kind of fierceness. His hand moved across the table and settled over hers. Just that. Warm and certain and unhurried. And Naya, who had spent a lifetime flinching from touch, did not pull away. She felt the heat of his palm travel up her arm and bloom somewhere behind her ribs, a feeling so unfamiliar it took her a moment to name it. Wanting. To be touched and not be ashamed. To be seen and not look away. It lasted 3 seconds. Then her fear caught up with her, and she slid her hand free. "I can't," she whispered. "I want to. That's the problem. I want this so badly that I already know exactly how much it's going to hurt when you realize I was never what you imagined. When you get bored. When you put me down for something prettier and easier and smaller." He went very still. And when he spoke, his voice was rougher than she had ever heard it. "Look at me," he said. "Naya, look at me." She did. "I've spent my whole life," he said, "surrounded by people who are easy to look at and impossible to feel anything for. Beautiful, empty rooms. And then a city full of cruel people tried to humiliate you, and instead they showed me the first thing in years that made me feel like I was still alive. You think you are not enough. You are the only thing that has ever been more than enough. The problem was never you. It was everyone too small to see it." The breath left her body. No one had ever fought for the things she hated most about herself. No one had ever looked at her wound and called it the reason they wanted her. The voice in her throat, the old cruel one, opened its mouth to speak. And for the first time in 28 years, she could not hear it. His words had drowned it out. She did not say anything. She could not. She just reached across the table, slowly, like a woman stepping off a cliff she had stood on her whole life, and she took his hand back. He looked down at their joined hands like a man who had just been handed something he had stopped believing he deserved. Then he looked back up at her, and the danger in him, the cold, lethal stillness the whole city feared, had been replaced by something far more terrifying to her. Tenderness. "Let me take you somewhere," he said. "Not to keep you. Just to show you how the world looks from up high. You can leave any moment you want. You have my word, and my word is the only thing I have never broken." And she said yes. The city looked different from 40 floors up. Smaller. Less able to hurt her. The same city that had laughed at her was now just a quiet field of lights beneath her feet, and she stood at the glass rail in her bronze coat and breathed like she had not breathed in days. He came to stand beside her. Close, but not touching. Always leaving the choice to her. "Cold?" he asked. "A little," she admitted. And he stepped behind her and slid his arms around her, slow enough that she could have stopped him, and she did not. She felt the solid warmth of him against her back, the weight of his arms, the steady rise and fall of his breathing. And the strangest thing happened. The body she had spent her whole life apologizing for felt, in his arms, like exactly the right size for the world. Like there was nothing to hide. Like she had finally come home to her own skin. She turned in his arms, slowly, until she was facing him, close enough to feel his breath, close enough to see her own stunned reflection in his dark eyes. Neither of them moved for a long moment. The whole world narrowed to the few inches of warm air between them. "Tell me to stop," he murmured, "and I will. Right now. I will walk you to the door and never ask again." "Don't," she whispered. "Don't stop." And he kissed her. Soft at first, careful, like she was something rare he was afraid to break. and then deeper, as her hands found the front of his shirt and held on, as a sound caught low in her throat that she had never made in her life. She had been kissed before. She had never been kissed like she was the answer to a question someone had been asking their whole life. When they finally broke apart, both of them breathing hard, he pressed his forehead to hers and stayed there, eyes closed, like he was trying to memorize the moment before it could slip away. "I have killed for less reason than I would protect you," he said quietly. "Do you understand what I am telling you? There is nothing in this world I would not burn to keep you safe." She should have been frightened by those words. She was not. She felt, for the first time, utterly and completely safe. That night she let her guard down all the way. Not all at once, but completely. She let herself be held. She let herself believe. She let herself, for the first time, imagine a future that did not run on apology. She fell asleep against him on the wide, low couch with the city glittering below, and for those few hours, she was not the woman the internet had laughed at. She was a woman who was loved. She did not know it was the last peaceful night she would have for a very long time. While she slept, Kim stood at the window and made a phone call. Because he had found something out. His people had finally traced the original photos all the way back, past Tasha, past the burner accounts, to the hand that had truly set it all in motion. And what they found turned his blood to ice. Tasha had not done it out of jealousy. Tasha had been paid. Paid by someone who had not been targeting Naya at all. Someone who had been targeting him. Someone had been watching him for months. Someone who knew that the great Kim Cho had no weakness, nothing to threaten, no one to lose. And so they had built him one. They had taken an innocent woman, dragged her into the light, and dangled her in front of him like bait, knowing exactly the kind of man he was underneath the ice. They had wanted him to fall in love. They had engineered it. And now that he had, the trap was ready to close. For the first time in his life, Kim Cho was afraid. Not for himself. He had stopped fearing for himself a long time ago. He was afraid for the woman asleep on his couch, the woman he had just let himself love, the woman who was now the single thread anyone could pull to unravel him completely. He had spent his whole life making himself impossible to hurt. And in 3 weeks, he had handed his enemy the only weapon that could destroy him. Behind him, on the couch, Naya stirred in her sleep and smiled. His private phone, the one whose number existed in fewer than 5 places on Earth, lit up. Blocked number. He answered without speaking. A voice came through. Smooth. Amused. A voice he had not heard in many years. A voice he had believed belonged to a dead man. "She sleeps soundly," the voice said. "For now." "Beautiful, isn't she? I do have such an eye for finding a man's weakness. Tell me, Kim, how does it feel, after all this time, to finally have something to lose?" Kim's eyes went to her, to the gentle rise and fall of her breathing, to the woman who had finally, that very night, let herself believe she was safe. "If you touch her," he said, his voice deadly quiet, "there will not be a place on this earth deep enough." The voice only laughed. "Oh, I am not going to touch her. I am going to make you watch what your love costs. Look outside, Kim. Look at your beautiful city. And then go wake her up. Because you have about 90 seconds before everything you built comes down." The line went dead. Kim crossed the room in 3 strides. He looked down at the city, and his blood ran cold. Far below, headlights. A line of them, moving fast through the dark, converging on his building from every direction. Dozens of them. And he knew, with the certainty of a man who had spent his whole life in this world, exactly what was coming up to that 40th floor. He turned back toward the couch. "Naya," he said. "Naya, wake up. We have to go. Now." Naya woke to his hand on her shoulder, and the look on his face, and the warm, safe world she had fallen asleep and shattered in an instant. "What's happening?" she breathed. Already sitting up, already reaching for him. He did not lie to her. That was the thing she would remember later. He looked her dead in the eyes, and he told her the truth. "Someone took those photos to get to me," he said. "Everything that has happened to you. It was never about you. It was about me. And they are coming. Right now. For both of us." The color drained from her face. Everything. The photos. The betrayal. Tasha. The gifts. The kiss. All of it, every single piece, had been a string pulled by a hand she had never seen, to break a man she had only just begun to love. And then she heard it. The soft chime of the private elevator. The one that only ever carried him. Someone was coming up. The door slid open at the far end of the penthouse, and Naya turned toward them, and what she saw standing in the light made the blood freeze in her veins. She knew that face. She had seen it before. Recently. Somewhere she never, ever expected. And in the half-second before the screaming started, Naya Kumara understood the most horrifying thing of all. The person standing in that elevator, the person behind everything, the one who had paid Tasha, who had exposed her, who had hunted Kim for years. She knew them. She had trusted them. And they had been standing beside her the whole time. If your heart is pounding right now, if you cannot believe where this just left you, then you already know what to do. Tell me in the comments. Say it loud. Drop the words part 2, because the moment those doors open changes everything, and the truth of who is standing there is going to break your heart all over again. Comment part 2 now, and I will bring it to you.